There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. In this program, we shall not try to explain the unexplainable. We cannot. No scientist has the definitive explanation. No space expert, no theologian, no ufologist, no philosopher, no spiritualist has the definitive explanation of what it is you're looking at. Since 1974, a woman in suburban Vancouver, Canada, has been filming unusual phenomenon of light in the sky. This is the moon. This is not. This is just a shot of two airplanes flying over Vancouver. A beacon light blinks below. These lights are not airplanes, though they too are in the sky above Vancouver. These phenomena create and manifest their own light. Dorathy Izatt has shot many hours of strange film in this sky. Stills taken from her movie films reveal things much more imponderable than clouds. This is not art, although many would call it so. These are photographs of the sky. In this program, you will be able to see for yourself how 8mm home movie film discloses images on single frames that are truly baffling. This is not the story of Dorathy Izatt. Rather, it is an exhibition of the work she does with what she describes as the light beings. It is the work of a person with the gift of second sight.
I think it's just a little glimpse of what it's over there and how beautiful their place is. I've been shown that many, many times, like, you know, in the visions or in astral, how beautiful the world is, like, you know, beyond this one. And where you can't explain the beauty that's there. The colors and the smells of, you know, of the flowers and all. We don't have things like that on Earth, at all.
This is Dorathy Izatt. She was born in September 1922, and by now is a great-grandmother. There was always a fascination with the sky. From her earliest days in Asia, Dorathy looked up. Her family was large, 6 sisters, 2 brothers. She was a happy, well-adjusted person. Perhaps it was her father who had the most pronounced gift of second sight, more than her mother. But there is no doubt that Dorothy's parents were both exceptional in ways that permitted her to explore her perceptions and develop her gifts naturally. Dorathy raised a large family herself, 4 children in all. She settled into the life of a hard-working mother in Canada, homemaking with a full-time job. And from 1974, there was her hobby, her work, the mission. The light phenomenon on film now constitutes a huge body of work. There are endless questions about this material. In this program, you will wonder about what you see, and you may form an answer that satisfies you. And then maybe you'll spot another detail, and you'll start all over again. This material is challenging. It arouses deep curiosity, deep emotions, because when Dorathy shows her films, a remarkable interest grows. But first, the sky through Dorothy's camera must be watched as she sees it when her film comes home from the processor, and she first runs it in her projector. In real time, rough, shaky, sometimes confusing glimpses of manifestations of light that truly cannot be explained. Remember, this is Super 8 home movie film. For the purposes of this program, it has been transferred to videotape. Apart from the very first 15 seconds of our introduction, no video graphics or extraordinary techniques have or will be used. Remember, these phenomena create and manifest their own light, but they also inhabit and alter existing light. Film passes through the gate in the camera at 18 frames per second. In other words, each single frame of film is exposed to a moving image for exactly 1/18 of a second. Each still photo you see, taken from the film, comes from one of these frames. When these frames are transferred to the videotape, the picture is slowed down to 1/30th of a second. Therefore, your chances of seeing the fullness of a flash frame in Dorothy's film are better on video. But it is still a fleeting moment, a very brief fraction of a second, that your eyes will register on this image, because each flash frame lasts for only the one frame of that Super 8 film, 1/18th of a second. The movement of light is arresting, as it is beautiful. That is why, later in this program, we will present many of the flash frames as photographs, processed from Dorothy's original film. Sometimes, so you might catch the action preceding a certain flash frame, we have applied some slow motion or a freeze of the frame, the same as a photograph, in a way which allows you to study these mysteries for more than a mere 1/18th of a second. you'll be able to dwell on the great beauty, color, form, rhythm, and complexity of Dorathy Wilkinson Izatt's work.
Quite often when I'm filming, the big object shows up. The one I call the mother crab. She is enormous. She'll fly over the house. When she does that, actually takes about 3, 4, 5 frames, but her light is so immense that everything is wiped out in that white flush of light. Since 1974, I've been taking pictures, and it's been going on now to the present day, and I've accumulated thousands and thousands of pictures, but no two are identical.
We're going to study one special flash frame Dorathy calls the harmonic convergence. This is one frame of Dorathy's film. We are going to play it over again a few times, so you might share the vision of what manifests itself in a sudden burst of light. Let's repeat that action. And again, because this illustrates the brilliance of what we are seeing. So quickly the naked eye will miss it. See how the lead-up to the flash frame somehow indicates that something is coming. Once again, this is how the harmonic convergence picture unfolds into Dorathy's little camera.
One night I was invited by some friends to join them at 4:30 in the morning to go up to the mountains for the harmonic conversion. I was curious and agreed to go with them to see what I might see up there. And I took my camera with me, and fortunately I was able to film some objects I saw up in the sky and managed to get this particular picture that you're looking at right now. If you take all the pictures and put them down, sometimes it makes you feel like it's an enormous jigsaw puzzle, and it needs to be just like it really, although there's no two alike, they relate to each other somehow or another. But each picture itself that they give us is complete in its message that it wants to give you. But they are related, though. I don't know how to put this together, but you can see that they're related to each other.
Dorothy's work has attracted broad and sharply increasing international recognition and study. Dr. J. Allen Hynek is considered to be the grandfather of the serious investigation of unidentified flying objects. Before his death, his interest in Dorothy's work led to a visit and to encouragement to her to continue using the movie camera. Continue the work. It is unique. Dr. Jewel Eisenbud, best known for his work with psychic Ted Sirius, has extensively studied the possibilities of a highly receptive mind transferring images to film. He too has been impressed and baffled by Dorothy's work.
She's meeting with increasing respectability.
Dr. Lee Poulos is a clinical psychologist with a special interest in the paranormal.
And I think that her films and Dorothy herself is a commentary on what's being produced. So it's not some kind of flaky, wishy-washy, woo type phenomena. Something is there, but we don't know what.
Many sequences taken from the raw footage of Dorothy's film show movement within a single frame that defies man's ability to reproduce. Many others indicate a pulsing white light very clearly taking the lead or advanced position of a much greater manifestation to come.
There were so many of these little lights up in the sky that I found it very difficult to film them. So I said, I can't film all of them because they were darting all over the place. So I concentrated on just one. Then all of a sudden, the whole group of them, the whole lot of them got together and gave me this picture. And right after this picture, they all scattered all over the place again.
By no means is this the most complex or spectacular flash frame sequence in Dorothy's work, but it does provide a fascinating look at the events and arrangements around the flash frame itself. A study in action. But the action of what?
The light objects, I don't place the light objects in my frame or try to get them all in my frame, but they place themselves in my frame. There's one particular scene where they were bouncing the light off the cloud for me, like lightning. You know, they're bouncing one cloud to another cloud and you know, entertain me like it. It was quite cute. they usually go up to the mother craft to be charged up. And that gives them enough energy to disappear out of our dimension into wherever they're going.
That's what sort of drew me to Dorothy when I began hearing, and at her invitation some years ago, went out to observe these phenomena. We actually saw the lights in the sky. I had never seen anything like that before, and I didn't believe it. And even with glasses on, I could actually see these lights. And then I said to Dorothy, well, they're being obscured by this tree. I can't see them totally. And she said, well, I can ask them to move for you. And I thought, you know, part of my left brain was saying, oh, yes. Mm-hmm. And as I tracked them with the lights, my binoculars, rather, they moved. And she said, I'm going to ask them to stop. And they stopped. And I said, Dorothy, would you ask them to move back again? Because I didn't believe what I was seeing. So mentally, telepathically, however, they started moving back again at her request. And it wasn't a hallucination. Because there was someone else with me who also observed the same phenomenon. So that's when I began paying attention to what was going on with Dorothy. Now, I have no doubt that whatever she's experiencing is real, but the question is, what is it? And I don't think anyone really knows.
One night I was at Dorothy's apartment with a friend, and it was suggested that it was a nice night, it was a full moon, that we should go onto the soccer field at the back of her apartment in a large open space that belongs to a school, I believe.
Graham Conway is an educator and a UFO researcher. He has been acquainted with Dorothy for years.
And she should attempt to take her 8mm movie camera and possibly aim it at different things that were fairly obvious and see if she could induce any particular effect. So we went out there and stood in the middle of the field, and we suggested that she should take pictures of the moon, which she did, car headlights, street lights, and then behind us there was a landing beacon for Vancouver Airport, which had a series of red lights attached to it, and we suggested she should take another number of frames of that, and she proceeded to do that. I personally saw nothing unusual take place at any time during her filming session. And when the film was developed, on one frame, there were these introductory pieces of light, some of which were blue, yellow, which interceded with the red lights that we had been looking at. And this was on one frame of film, which is in itself, to me, extremely remarkable. I am fully aware that Dorothy has over 300 and something movie films on which she has similar examples. I had been present on that occasion and was fortunate that Dorothy gave me this picture for a gift. I have met quite a few people who have seen Dorothy's material. I have personally not met anyone who has attempted to ridicule Dorothy.
She phoned the university to find out if I would help her. So I made arrangements to see her at her home. And then I decided to give her a battery of tests, which included the MMPI, which is a Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory.
Dr. Du Fei Der is a clinical psychologist with the Department of Counseling Psychology at the University of British Columbia.
Which is the grandfather of all the psychological tests, and we use this test to determine a person's personality profile for hospital admission. You know, and all the hospitals in North America that use this to find out what type of personality problems that the individual has. And it looks into such areas as psychosis, or schizophrenia, and different mood disorders. You know, the test doesn't say whether she actually saw UFOs or has any psychic ability. The test only indicates what type of a person she is. Her profile indicates that she's just a normal, average person. And we find no psychotic tendencies or depressive tendencies or any type of mood disorders. And if anything, some of the other tests like the 16PF and personality checklist shows us that she's a very modest person, honest, who's of average, above average intelligence, you know, and very dependable, honest person. I don't think I've ever met anyone with her particular talent or her particular interest in UFOs and stuff. Because here's the first person I've met who have taken pictures of objects that no one can explain, you know, or objects of lights, and which are different than anything I've ever seen. And yet she's a very normal, average person who's interested in normal, average things.
personally, my only conclusion is that she is either producing it herself mentally, or she's actually seeing these things and actually filming them.
Steve Gagan has been a production designer and art director in the U.S. and Canadian motion picture industry since 1973.
I can't see any other way that it's happening. She just doesn't have the technical background to come up with something with as much material, as detailed as the films are and the flash frames, to do it, to hokey it up. It's just not there. The woman doesn't have those capabilities. No, I don't think that the film is fake. From my view of the 2.5 hours of it and my viewing the actual positive footage, I don't think that the film is fake, no.
I work at the planetarium as a show presenter, a lecturer, and I spend a lot of time running the star projector and showing people the sky and what's up there. A lot of children. I do a lot of school kids, from little tykes right up.
John Tanner is a broadcaster and a star show presenter at the H.R. Macmillan Planetarium in Vancouver.
To how the sky works and the motion mechanics of what causes this old Earth to turn and make day and night and all that. So that's why, as I say, astronomy is right in my head all the time, and the sky is definitely part of me. Dorathy is beyond anything I could ever explain or hope to ever make contact with anyone like that again, I don't think, you know. I think she's really a one-of-a-kind person as far as what's happening to her and her experiences. As I say, even now, although I still think that something's happening, I still sometimes think, oh boy, I tell you, this stuff is so weird that even I have trouble sometimes to even rationalizing that it's really happening, you know. That it just seems too fantastic to really be real. I can't explain it. I'm speechless, really, you know. I mean, obviously there's something that's being photographed, and all I can say it's unidentified. That's really all I could really say. Sometimes it looked like there was actually a time channel was open, like looking back into the past, because there was one scene where she had it look like a seashore. And here we are out in Richmond, and obviously all this was underwater at one time, and it was like we were looking at a beach and water, and there was something out there. So I think it's important that people hear about it, and because most people have had some sort of encounter or some sort of sighting themselves, but they're afraid to say anything about it. So when they hear about somebody else, they feel more reassured. Oh, well, I'm not the only one now, you know, I can talk about it too, and I don't feel so nervous about mentioning this to my friends.
They communicate with you only if you want to communicate with them. They'll sort of come close, and of course if you're sending out the light, then you draw them. And they're all they want to do is help. We are all light beings.
All the tests or analysis attest to the fact Dorathy Wilkinson Izatt is a normal person, genuine in the pursuit of her hobby. Her mission has been to do the filming, and while carrying out that mission, she has become much closer to the object or objects of her attention. Over the years, the experts have examined the pictures, and they have examined Dorathy. They have sought to provide explanations. And the very few, the one or two, who have said it is just plain malarkey, have not been able to supply the other answer. What then do the pictures show? How does this happen? What is it that you are looking at?
One night there was this enormous light up in the sky, almost the size of a full moon, and it had all this blue light around it. I felt I was communicating with it because it was doing certain things that I was asking it to do, like brighten up, dim down, and I asked him what they looked like. All of a sudden there was an enormous blast of light and a face appeared on the side of it. This particular picture seemed to draw a lot of attention to itself because people can relate to it. Most of the people I've shown it to seem to see a bit of themselves in it for some reason or another. The reason I'm so committed with my work is because I believe in these pictures. I believe it's from a good source. Since my encounter with them, I've been trying to be a little more spiritual, and I try to be less judgmental, and try to work with everyone and love them.
The scientists have seen these films. The space experts, ufologists, theologians, philosophers, and spiritualists have seen the films that you are looking at. No one has failed to sincerely try an answer, but it always ends up as the question. There is no one to say that any single interpretation is correct. So what do you say this is? We cannot explain the unexplainable, and we cannot say these pictures have appeared only in dreams. Any answers are within the pictures themselves. Scientifically, spiritually, or otherwise, it is in the pictures you will find the concentration of energies necessary to understand the nature or the point to it all.
Down through the ages, Minari means light, a light that never dims. My work with my pictures is to make sure that we keep this light alive in all of us and never allow it to go out. I feel that it's time for us to open up ourselves to the light, which I've felt for many, many years now, since I started taking these pictures, that the light is very, very important. But through all the materialistic things around us and having to work for a living and strive for a living, that we seem to bury this light deep, deep within us and forget about it. And I think now it's time for us to bring it out a little and work with it to try and be better people than we are. And maybe by doing this, we can all learn to love each other and make it easier for us to get along with each other in this world. The reason I am sharing these pictures of light is because I want everyone to discover their own feelings, their own answers, and their own questions.
I think she's absolutely sincere. I think the woman takes this very seriously. I think she believes it's a job that she's doing. She enjoys it.
Well, there's so much of it. I mean, she had reams and reams and rolls of this stuff, and there were these weird squiggly lines that appeared on just one frame.
Another possibility, of course, is that it may be a future self that is kind of casting its shadow back over time, and that she's picking up on possible future happenings. That's another alternative possibility. But it doesn't really answer the question, why Dorothy?
It's really difficult for me to say whether there are UFOs or whatever, right? But I believe that she saw them, and I believe that I see the pictures that she's taken, and I believe that they're for real.
But these visitors, whoever they are, from wherever they are, I personally think are involved in manipulating us for whatever their purpose may be.